Chosen one. You are not here by accident. The timing of this moment has been written over your life long before your enemies ever plotted against you. You have been guided into this word because heaven is shifting something in your favor right now. Anointed one, you are standing at the threshold of a supernatural release, a divine wealth transfer that no darkness can delay. What was meant to break you is becoming the proof that God Himself is fighting for you. As Scripture declares, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Lean in. The atmosphere is changing for you, even now. Chosen one, lean in. What you are about to hear is not information. It is impartation. It is the kind of word that rearranges the atmosphere around you and awakens the part of your spirit that refuses to die. Because whether you realize it or not, heaven has been building a case around your life, and what looked like chaos was actually divine strategy. Everything they tried to erase God, preserved. Everything they tried to bury God, watered. Everything they plotted in darkness has become the very reason light is about to find you. Chosen one, here is the truth nobody told you while you were fighting to breathe. You were never fragile. You were never replaceable. You were never the file they thought they could drag into a trash bin. You were fire, and that fire was not lit by human hands, which means no human attack can extinguish it. I know what it feels like to be treated like an inconvenience, like something people can discard when your presence reveals too much truth. I've lived through rooms where my name was whispered like a threat. I've survived seasons where people tried to erase me because they couldn't understand me. But every time they tried to delete me, God wrote me in bolder ink. That is what is happening to you right now, Anointed One. They saw something in you they couldn't duplicate, something they couldn't buy, manipulate, or imitate, something that threatened the insecurity that was already devouring them from the inside. So they tried to smear you, they tried to label you, they tried to poison anyone who might have seen the greatness in you. But heaven never writes destiny in pencil. Heaven engraves it, and when your name is carved by God, no hand can scratch it out. Chosen one, listen closely. People attack what they fear. People sabotage what they cannot control. People lie about what exposes their truth. And the fact that they came after you with such intensity is the clearest evidence of who you truly are. You were not the problem. You were the mirror. Your existence showed them everything they pretended not to be. Your endurance revealed their weakness. Your integrity revealed their corruption. Your silence revealed their noise. And when the truth of who they were began rising to the surface, instead of repenting, they retaliated. That retaliation became their downfall. Anointed one, the universe has laws, and heaven has order. You cannot harm what God has protected. You cannot erase what God has preserved. And when people fight against someone who carries a divine mantle, they are not just warring against flesh, they are warring against destiny. That war never ends well for them. I've seen this in my own journey. Times when people dug pits for me only to fall into them themselves. Times when lies piled up so high they collapsed on the one who built them. Times when people tried to dim my light only to discover it exposed every shadow they were hiding in. That is what is happening around your life right now. Chosen one. The reason they could not take your life is because it was never theirs to take. The breath in your lungs is protected. The calling on your name is sealed. And the path you walk is guarded by timing that was written before you were born. They thought their gossip would bury you, but it became fertilizer. They thought their betrayal would break you, but it became a bridge. They thought their slander would silence you, but it became the amplifier of your authenticity. What they meant as damage became documentation. That documentation is now turning into judgment. Anointed One, hear me with your spirit. The universe is exposing what they built. Every lie they crafted has a trail. Every whisper they spread has an echo. Every scheme they planted has a fingerprint. And heaven is gathering each piece like sacred evidence. Just like I've lived through my own vindication seasons, where everything hidden came to the surface at once, you are stepping into that same atmosphere now. Nothing can stop this unveiling. Nothing can silence this correction. Nothing can block this divine reversal. Chosen One, this is the moment where heaven steps in, and what they tried to erase is rising. What they tried to destroy is being restored. What they tried to bury is being resurrected. This is not revenge. This is alignment. This is not cruelty. This is correction. Chosen One, let your spirit stay open, because what comes next is not just revelation, it is remembrance. You are remembering who you are. You are remembering what was placed inside you long before the betrayal, long before the slander, long before the attacks that tried to twist your identity into something small. And now, heaven is pulling back the veil to show you what was happening behind the scenes while you were fighting battles you never asked for. Anointed One, you were the test. Not the victim, not the target, not the casualty they hoped you'd become. You were the measuring stick heaven placed in the middle of their lives to reveal the truth they had spent years covering up. You walked into their world carrying light they didn't know how to handle. You carried truth they didn't know how to face. Your spirit exposed the intentions they thought were well hidden. And once their shadows were revealed, instead of transforming, they attacked. That is how heaven identifies the heart. When truth appears, some people humble themselves, but others try to destroy the truth bearer. And you, Chosen One, became the proof of who they really were. I have lived this. I know what it means to walk into a room, innocent, hopeful, genuine, only to become the threat nobody warns you about. I know what it feels like when your presence becomes a mirror and people panic because they don't like their reflection, and they begin scrambling for masks, excuses, narratives, anything to shift the light off their own darkness. But here is the secret. Heaven showed me through my battles, your existence is not the threat. It is their refusal to grow that creates the war. Chosen One, you didn't do anything wrong. You were simply too bright for their brokenness, too grounded for their instability, too honest for their manipulation. When you walked in, you revealed what they prayed no one would ever see. And that revelation became the turning point. Instead of rising higher, they chose envy. Instead of honoring you, they chose betrayal. Instead of accepting truth, they attempted to destroy it. But here's the prophetic truth. The moment they chose to fight you, they lost the battle. You weren't the one being tested. They were. Your spirit was the exam. Your presence was the question. Your integrity was the answer key. Their reactions told heaven everything, and from that moment on, the judgment they try to escape today was already set into motion. Anointed One, hear me clearly with your spirit. Heaven allows tests not to destroy you, but to reveal the hearts of those around you. You walked into their lives as an opportunity for them to rise, to grow, to confront the ego they have protected for years. But they rejected the lesson. They failed the test. And once a test is failed at that level, consequences begin writing themselves. Think of it like this: a student who panics during an exam reveals they never studied the truth. A dishonest person who tears up the paper only exposes their own unpreparedness. That is exactly what they did. When they sabotaged you, they showed heaven and earth who they truly were. When they slandered you, they documented their guilt. When they plotted against the one who was sent to help them, they signed their own sentence. Chosen one, you were not the storm. You were the light exposing the infection. You didn't create their chaos, you revealed it. And in revealing it, you activated a divine chain reaction that is unfolding right now. This is why their life feels unstable, why everything they built is collapsing, why relationships, finances, alliances, and opportunities are falling apart. They believe it's coincidence. They think it's bad luck. They assume it's life catching up. But no, anointed one. This is spiritual accountability. This is divine correction. This is heaven saying enough. And while their world crumbles, look at you. You are rising. You are seeing clearer. You are becoming stronger, because every attack against you was molding you. Every betrayal was teaching you discernment. Every lie was sharpening your spirit. Every setback was building your authority. This is why heaven trusted you with the test, chosen one. Heaven knew you would endure. Heaven knew you would stand. Heaven knew your light would not bow to their darkness. And now the judgment written by their own actions is being carried out. But do not misunderstand this moment. What is happening to them is not about punishment. It is about balance. It is about alignment. It is about restoring what was taken, healing what was harmed, and elevating the one who walked through fire without losing their faith. And now, chosen one, we move into the next revelation. Because what comes after exposure is greater than judgment. What comes next is divine positioning. Chosen one, take a breath, because what we are stepping into now is deeper than the pain you endured and bigger than the betrayal you survived. This is the part where heaven reveals why the pressure was so heavy, why the attacks felt relentless, why the warfare around your life intensified the more you grew. It wasn't because you were weak, it was because you were in the territory of breakthrough. And the moment a destiny like yours gets close to manifesting, every insecure spirit around you begins to panic. Anointed one. They did not simply envy what you had, they envied who you were becoming. Something in you was awakening. Something in you was shifting. Something in you was beginning to reflect the blueprint heaven had written over your life. They felt it in their spirit, even before you realized it in your own. And instead of celebrating your ascension, they tried to sabotage it. But here is the divine irony: in trying to stop your rise, they unlocked it. Think of a dam, chosen one. When water is calm, the structure holds. But when pressure builds behind it, when the current becomes too strong, cracks begin to form, and eventually the force becomes impossible to contain. That is what your enemies triggered. They were the pressure that caused the breaking. They were the resistance that activated your power. They were the very force heaven used to accelerate your calling. I know this because I've lived through my own dam-breaking moment. A season where it felt like every person I trusted turned into a stranger. A season where lies multiplied faster than truth could speak. A season where the ones who smiled in front of me sharpened their knives behind my back. But now I see clearly that was the season heaven used to reveal who I could never build, with who could never walk with me into the next dimension, who could never carry the weight of my calling. And chosen one, heaven is doing the same for you. They tried to dam up your progress with gossip, manipulation, and silent agreements against you. They tried to hold back what heaven was releasing. They thought their schemes could rewrite what was written. But destiny is not clay. It is granite. It cannot be reshaped by envious hands. Every spiritual law operates on balance. You cannot plot destruction without triggering self-destruction. You cannot attack purity without attracting judgment. You cannot harm someone chosen without inviting consequences onto your own life. That is what they did. Without realizing it, they picked a fight with divine order. And divine order never loses. Chosen one, heaven didn't allow the pressure to crush you. Heaven allowed it to reveal your strength. Heaven allowed it to expose their motives. Heaven allowed it to break every attachment that would have hindered the blessings coming next. Because what is about to enter your life requires discernment. It requires purity of spirit. It requires clarity of vision. It requires separation from those who would mishandle what God is entrusting to you. That is why everything fell apart around them. Not because you were cursed, but because you were protected. Not because they were strong, but because you were being removed from contamination. Anointed one, when people fight against your calling, they are not fighting you. They are fighting the God who sent you. And when the dam finally breaks, the water doesn't flow quietly. It rushes with force. It destroys the very structure that tried to contain it. That is what is happening right now in the spirit. The dam they built around your destiny is collapsing. The limitations they tried to place on you are shattering. The lies they crafted are turning into public evidence. And the current of your breakthrough is about to sweep through every corner of your life. What they tried to hold back is now becoming unstoppable. Chosen one, prepare yourself, because what comes next is not just justice, it is divine acceleration. And the moment heaven accelerates you, nothing and no one can slow you down. Chosen one, open your spirit for this part. Because what we are entering now is one of the deepest revelations of your entire journey. You've heard people say they tried to end you, but very few understand what that really means on a spiritual level. When someone cannot touch your body, cannot stop your calling, cannot interfere with what heaven has ordained, they move to the next target, your mission. They can't kill your purpose, so they attack your name. They can't bury your destiny, so they bury your reputation. They can't silence your voice, so they surround you with noise. This is the strategy of the insecure, the tactic of the spiritually bankrupt. Anointed one, their goal was never to simply hurt you. Their goal was to corrupt the perception of you in the minds of others. They believed that if they could destroy how people saw you, it would eventually destroy how you saw yourself. But heaven never writes identity from public opinion. Heaven writes identity from eternal purpose. And that is why every attempt to assassinate your mission has backfired so dramatically. I have lived through this kind of season, a season where whispers traveled faster than truth, where lies spread wider than facts, where rumors felt louder than your own voice. A season where you feel like you're fighting shadows, because no one ever comes to you directly. They come to everyone except you, and you wonder, why me? But the prophetic truth is this. People don't go to war this intensely unless they sense something divine on the horizon. Chosen one. Your mission terrified them, not because you were loud, but because you were effective. Not because you were perfect, but because you were chosen. Not because you tried to shine, but because you were born radiant. They saw a future version of you before you saw it yourself, and they panicked. They recognized your potential, your influence, your anointing, and instead of aligning with it, they tried to bury it. But listen closely. Purpose is not fragile. Destiny is not threatened by slander. Your calling does not crumble under accusation. In fact, the more they pressed against it, the louder heaven amplified it. Every lie they told became a megaphone for the truth. Every betrayal became a platform. Every attempt to silence you became another confirmation of how powerful your voice truly is. Chosen one, picture this. A snake that cannot penetrate your skin will go after your surroundings instead. It tries to poison those closest to you, hoping to weaken your environment. That's exactly what happened. They knew they couldn't destroy you directly, so they tried to weaken the ground you stood on. They whispered behind closed doors. They manipulated emotions. They played victim while secretly playing villain. They used shadows as their strategy. But here is the divine twist. The shadows they used became the stage lights that expose them today. Whenever someone tries to destroy what heaven has built, they end up destroying themselves. It's a spiritual law. Every pit they dug has become their prison. Every chain they wrapped around your name is now tightening around their own wrists. Every lie they manufactured became a confession. Every whisper they crafted became the echo that leads investigators, authorities, or spiritual forces right back to them. Anointed One. This is why heaven didn't allow you to fight back. This is why you felt silenced, restrained, held still. Not because you were powerless, but because the battle wasn't yours to fight. Heaven was building the case. Heaven was gathering the evidence. Heaven was aligning the timing. And now every hidden motive, every secret agreement, every dark plot is surfacing like oxygen rising to the top of still water. They didn't just fail to destroy your mission, they launched it. Because every time someone tried to assassinate your destiny, it only fertilized the soil beneath your feet. You became wiser, you became sharper, you became more spiritually sensitive. You learned discernment, boundaries, patience, and authority. Their attacks became your training ground. Their betrayal became your transformation. Their persecution became your preparation. Chosen One, hear this in your spirit. They thought they were assassins of your purpose, but heaven turned them into witnesses of your rise. They wanted to write your ending, but God made them characters in your beginning. They tried to bury your influence, but heaven used their hands to plant you deeper so you could rise taller. And now, here comes the part they feared the most, the unveiling. The part where your destiny speaks louder than their lies. The part where your mission becomes undeniable. The part where heaven elevates you publicly in the exact places they tried to humiliate you privately. Chosen One. What comes next is not survival. It is manifestation. The season they tried to bury is the very season heaven is about to reveal. Chosen One, settle your spirit, because this next revelation carries the weight of heaven itself. You've heard people say, justice takes time, but what they don't tell you is why it takes time. Justice waits because it must give arrogance enough rope to expose itself. It must give deception enough space to contradict itself. It must give evil enough confidence to reveal its true face. And that is exactly what happened with the ones who came against you. Anointed One, they mistook heaven's silence for heaven's absence. They believed your quiet endurance meant you were weak, unprotected, or unaware. They thought the lack of immediate consequences gave them immunity, but heaven was not sleeping. Heaven was watching, heaven was documenting, heaven was giving them enough rope to build the noose they now feel, tightening around their own lives. Chosen One, I have lived this pattern. I've watched people celebrate too early thinking they had buried me, only to realize they had buried themselves. I've seen individuals become bold in their wickedness, mistaking my restraint for helplessness. But every time without fail, the same thing happened. Their lies looped back around. Their plots folded inwards. Their alliances collapsed under their own instability. And their pride invited the kind of downfall no human could rescue them from. That is exactly what is unfolding around your life now. They bragged too long. They schemed too openly. They dug too deeply into pits that were never meant for you. And every lie they told, every whisper they spread, every manipulation they attempted became another plank in the gallows they were building for themselves. They didn't realize they were constructing their own downfall. They thought they were crafting your demise, but heaven was letting them weave their own noose, one lie at a time. Anointed One, heaven's patience was not permission. Heaven's silence was not surrender. It was strategy. The universe allowed them time to repent, time to pull back, time to correct their path. But instead of humility, they chose pride. Instead of honesty, they chose deception. Instead of truth, they chose to double down on lies. As their ego grew louder than their conscience, the consequences began writing themselves. Chosen One. This is why everything they touch now collapses. Why doors that once opened for them are sealed shut. Why relationships they thought were secure are falling apart. Why opportunities are drying up like rivers out of season. Judgment is not always loud. Sometimes it comes quietly, subtly, progressively, until suddenly everything they built crumbles in their own hands. And here's the divine irony. The same silence they use to attack you is the silence heaven is using to expose them. They believed no one was watching, but heaven was. They believed no one was recording, but the universe was. Every word, every gesture, every alliance, every hidden motive was documented by spiritual laws that cannot be erased, hacked, or undone. And now, the evidence is complete. The patience has ended. The sentence has begun. Chosen One, let this settle deeply in your spirit. They never got away with anything. They only bought time to build their own downfall. The reason the collapse is happening so dramatically is because it has been accumulating layer by layer for a long time. Heaven is simply cashing the bill. But here is the part your spirit must embrace. While they fall, you rise. While their paths close, yours open. While their names are being exposed, your name is being elevated. This is not coincidence. This is alignment. This is divine compensation. This is heaven restoring what was taken from you, multiplied. Chosen One, you are stepping into a season where justice is no longer delayed. It is active, it is moving, it is unfolding in real time, and it is clearing the path for the blessings that were always meant for you. Chosen One, prepare yourself, because now we enter one of the most sacred and misunderstood dimensions of your journey, the power of your silence. People often misinterpret silence as weakness, as surrender as passivity. But spiritually, silence is a weapon. Silence is strategy. Silence is the stage where heaven gathers evidence. And that is exactly why heaven instructed you to stay still while others were busy attacking your name, your character, and your destiny. Anointed One, your silence shook them more than your words ever could. When someone is guilty, they expect resistance. They expect a fight. They expect arguments, explanations, and emotional explosions. But when you stayed calm, when you didn't retaliate, when you refused to play their game, something inside them panicked. Because silence forces liars to speak more. Silence forces deceivers to reveal themselves. Silence forces manipulators to overplay their hand. And that's exactly what happened. The more silent you became, the louder their guilt grew. Let me speak from experience. I have walked through seasons where the most powerful thing I ever did was say nothing, where my silence exposed people faster than accusations ever could. The truth doesn't need your voice to defend it, because truth is a lion. You simply release it, and it will defend itself. And chosen one, while you were silent, heaven was speaking. Heaven was documenting. Heaven was aligning circumstances that would unravel every lie spoken against you. Your silence didn't weaken your case, it strengthened it. Chosen one, picture a courtroom, when chaos fills the room, when everyone is shouting, when accusations fly in every direction. The moment a single piece of video evidence plays, the noise dies instantly. That is what your innocence did. It stood quietly until heaven brought the right moment to reveal what was hidden. Your silence became the backdrop against which their guilt glowed like fire in the night. Anointed one. This is why you must understand silence is not inaction. Silence is spiritual posture. You were not quiet because you were afraid. You were quiet because heaven told you, "Be still and I will fight for you." Your stillness made them unravel. Your calm made them paranoid. Your peace made them unstable, because they were expecting a battle, but instead they found themselves wrestling with their own shadows. Every lie they told began to contradict another lie. Every version of the story they fabricated exposed the inconsistencies. Every attempt to bury the truth brought it closer to the surface. People began to notice the cracks. Those who once believed the noise started questioning why you weren't reacting, why you weren't defending yourself, why you weren't collapsing under the weight of accusation. And in those questions, the truth emerged. Chosen one, hear this deeply. Silence doesn't hide truth, it reveals it. Silence doesn't weaken justice, it accelerates it. Silence doesn't make the guilty strong, it makes them desperate. And the more desperate they became, the more they exposed themselves without realizing it. That is why heaven told you not to respond, not to retaliate, not to explain yourself. You were being protected from participating in your enemy's downfall. Heaven didn't want your hands anywhere near their judgment. What is unfolding in their lives now is not because of your words, it's because of their actions. And now the silence that once made you look vulnerable is the silence that is making them crumble. It is the silence that has become deafening, the silence that carries weight, the silence that holds spiritual authority. Anointed one, their own words have condemned them. Their own lies are unraveling them. Their own actions have triggered what is happening to them now. Heaven used your silence as a mirror, and in that mirror they saw the truth they tried so desperately to hide. Chosen one. Your silence was never empty. It was loaded with purpose. And now that purpose is unfolding openly, undeniably, powerfully. Chosen one, steady yourself, because what we are stepping into now is a realm most people never discern, the realm of secret things. The realm of what is whispered when the doors are closed, what is planned in the shadows, what is spoken in confidence among those who believe their darkness is hidden from the light. But there is no such thing as a secret in the universe. There is no such thing as a hidden plot when heaven has assigned angels to your life. And this is where your story becomes undeniably supernatural. Anointed one, your enemies did their work in the dark because they believed no one could see. They erased messages, they deleted conversations, they whispered in the corners of rooms, they planned behind your back. They held secret meetings, made quiet agreements, and shook hands with people who smiled at you publicly while plotting against you privately. They thought that if they kept everything off the record, nothing would come to light. But the universe has cameras no human can hack. Heaven has archives no human can wipe. The spiritual realm watches what the natural realm tries to hide. And while they thought they were acting safely, quietly, cleverly, every word they whispered was already being recorded in a place where they could not reach. Chosen one. I know what it feels like to realize people were speaking your name in rooms you weren't invited into. I know the sting of hearing that someone you trusted misrepresented you, twisted your intentions, or betrayed your kindness. I know the pain of darkness pretending to be light. But I also know the power of spiritual surveillance. because every time darkness moved, heaven documented it. Every time lies were spread, truth took notes. Every time someone plotted your downfall, angels marked the moment. Anointed One. Everything done in the dark carries a timestamp in the spirit. And when the right moment arrives, when heaven is ready to expose what's been hidden, those timestamps become evidence. Suddenly, people who swore loyalty start turning on each other. Allies become liabilities. Co-conspirators begin confessing. Devices malfunction, data recovers itself, screenshots emerge, conversations leak, motives unravel. And the same people who believed they were covered discover they were never unseen. This is exactly what is happening right now around your life. The people who once mocked the unseen realm are now being dragged into judgment by the very forces they dismissed. The universe remembered. The walls remembered. The silence remembered. Every gesture, every message, every smirk, every lie, all of it was preserved. Chosen One. Heaven didn't need you to expose them. The universe didn't need your voice to reveal the truth. Their own behavior became the judge. Their own arrogance became the evidence. Their own alliances became the trap. And now the spiritual cameras they never believed in are playing back everything they thought they escaped. Anointed One, hear this with your spirit. Exposure is not random. Exposure is scheduled. It happens when the lie has stretched itself so far that truth can snap it in half. It happens when the weight of deceit becomes too heavy to hold. It happens when pride blinds someone into thinking they're untouchable. And that is exactly the moment heaven chooses to pull the curtain. And now the curtain has been pulled. Their allies are turning against them. The devices they deleted things from are recovering data they thought was gone forever. People they trusted are confessing. Secret agreements are being revealed. Private conversations are being replayed. This is not coincidence. This is consequence. Chosen One. What you must understand is this: the secrecy they relied on has become the very thing exposing them. Their hidden rituals, their backroom deals, their manipulations, their lies, all of it is collapsing under the weight of its own darkness. When you build anything on deception, it eventually caves in on the builder. And while they crumble, look at you. You are rising. You are being vindicated. You are being elevated. Because heaven never lets darkness win over a soul chosen by God. Anointed One. The unseen realm fought for you while you slept, while you cried, while you felt alone, while you questioned yourself. And now what was done in hidden places is being judged in open spaces. Their secrets are no longer secrets. Their shadows have nowhere left to hide, and the light, the very light you carried, is exposing everything they tried to conceal. Chosen One. There comes a moment in every destiny where heaven pulls together every injustice, every betrayal, every silent wound, and uses them as the scaffolding that elevates you into your true calling. This is that moment for you. Everything you survived, everything that was whispered about you, everything they plotted behind your back has now become part of a divine narrative that no enemy could interrupt. You were not watching this by coincidence. You are reading this because the timing of heaven is perfect, and the universe has decided that it is time for you to rise. Your enemies never attacked you because you were weak. They attacked you because something in you threatened the darkness inside them. They sensed your calling before you even fully understood it. They recognized your potential, your influence, and your spiritual weight long before you did. And because they could not control you, they tried to erase you. They thought they could drag your identity like a file into the trash, hoping you would disappear quietly. But destiny is not a document, it is fire. And fire does not vanish because people wish it away. It spreads, it illuminates, it exposes, it survives. You were the light. They could not dim the truth. They could not distort the presence. They could not manipulate. Your existence became a mirror reflecting everything they pretended not to be. And instead of embracing the truth, they retaliated against it. They whispered in darkness, believing heaven was blind. They schemed in secret, believing the universe was asleep. They tried to bury your reputation, your opportunities, your peace. But every ounce of darkness they sent toward you has now become the evidence heaven is using to justify your rise, your silence. Chosen one was never weakness, it was spiritual strategy. Heaven told you to stay still not because you lacked the strength to fight, but because the battle was never yours. Silence forced the liars to speak more. Silence made the deceivers expose themselves. Silence placed every piece of evidence into the hands of the universe, which recorded everything with precision. What they thought was hidden was always seen. What they thought was erased was always preserved. The walls remembered. The silence remembered. Heaven remembered. Every whisper, every deleted message, every backroom conversation, every false narrative has now resurfaced in divine timing. Their alliances are collapsing, their secrets are leaking, their manipulations are unraveling. The very shadows they trusted have turned into the lights that expose them, because no one outsmarts divine order. No one outruns spiritual law. No one escapes the universal principle that what is done in darkness must eventually come to light. While they were plotting, you were growing. While they were lying, you were evolving. While they were sabotaging, you were strengthening. Every attack against you became the training ground for your authority. Every betrayal sharpened your discernment. Every setback prepared your spirit for elevation. You were not being destroyed, you were being forged. Your spirit was being refined. Your mission was being clarified. And now heaven is ready to reveal the version of you that darkness tried desperately to silence. What is unfolding in your life now is more than justice, it is supernatural transfer. Transfer of peace, clarity, influence, opportunity, protection, and prosperity. Heaven does not remove people unless something greater is being prepared. Those who fell away were never equipped to walk with you into this next season. Their presence would have contaminated your elevation. Their envy would have sabotaged your blessing. Their deception would have diluted your destiny. So heaven cleared your path so you could rise without the weight of those who were never meant to see you shine. Chosen one. You are stepping into a season where every tear has been counted, every prayer stored, every quiet act of faith noted. Nothing you walked through was wasted. None of your pain was accidental. All of it was preparation. You were never defeated. You were being positioned. You were never abandoned. You were being protected. You were never forgotten. You were being preserved for such a time as this. Now heaven declares over you your rise is the verdict. Your endurance is the testimony. Your elevation is the outcome. What was delayed is being released. What was blocked is being opened. What was lost is being restored. And what they tried to take God is returning multiplied. Chosen one destiny is no longer approaching. Destiny has arrived, and your elevation begins now. Chosen one, as we reach the end of this message, pause for a moment and feel the weight of what has been revealed over your life. You did not stumble into this word. You were guided here. You were summoned here. And every sentence that touched your spirit was part of a divine alignment unfolding in real time. What tried to break you could not touch you. What tried to silence you only amplified your calling. What tried to erase you has become the very proof of who you are in the eyes of heaven. Anointed One. Justice is not coming. Justice is already here. The shift you have been sensing in your spirit is not imagination. It is confirmation. The scales are tipping. The tables are turning. The same universe that protected your life is now moving against every force that dared to rise against you. Their intentions were dark, but your covering was stronger. Their traps were deep, but your destiny was deeper. And now heaven is answering in a way no one can deny. This is your Kairos moment, your divinely appointed time. The supernatural transfer has begun. The reversal has been activated. What was locked is unlocking. What was delayed is accelerating. What was spoken over your life in the quiet places is now beginning to manifest in the visible realm. You are stepping into a season where promises meet timing, where destiny meets readiness, and where your spirit finally meets the place it has been longing for. Chosen. 1. Walk with reverence because the hand of God is heavy on your life right now. Walk with courage because the next chapter requires your boldness. Walk with gratitude because everything that once felt like loss is about to return as gain. You are not leaving this video the same way you entered. You are leaving with clarity, with confirmation, with authority. If your spirit felt the truth of this message, you may type 77 in the comments as your seal of victory, not as a ritual, but as a declaration that you recognize the move of heaven on your behalf. And if this word touched your heart, share it with someone who needs a reminder that justice is real and destiny cannot be erased. Go in strength, Anointed One. The universe has made its move. Now step boldly into yours.